Video 21, Part 14C of 25, Outputs from the Determine Budget Process. The purpose of this video is to develop a WBS to present the deliverables from the Determine Budget Process. The Determine Budget Process is the third process in the Project Cost Management knowledge area and is related to the Planning Process group. Please click the like button. Subscribe to my channel and share with others. Thank you. How important is the cost baseline output in the Determine Budget Process? The cost baseline is a critical output of the Determine Budget Process in project cost management. Its importance lies in the following key aspects. 1. Authorized reference for project performance measurement. The cost baseline is the approved time-phased budget against which project performance is measured. It serves as a benchmark for earned value management to assess cost and schedule performance, such as CPI, SPI, and variance analysis. 2. Basis for cost control. Any deviations, such as overruns or underruns, are tracked against the baseline, enabling proactive corrective actions. Helps in identifying trends and forecasting final project costs. 3. Funding requirements and financial planning. The baseline ensures that funds are allocated appropriately over time, such as S-curve distribution. Stakeholders rely on it for financial planning and securing necessary resources. 4. Change control and governance. Any changes to the budget must go through formal change control, ensuring accountability. The baseline provides transparency in how approved changes impact overall project costs. 5. Project success and stakeholder confidence. A well-defined baseline enhances credibility with sponsors, clients, and team members. It supports informed decision-making regarding trade-offs between scope, time, and cost. How can a poor cost baseline analysis harm the Determine Budget Process? A poor cost baseline analysis can severely undermine the Determine Budget Process, leading to financial mismanagement, project delays, and even failure. Here's how a poor cost baseline analysis can cause harm. 1. Inaccurate budget approval and funding shortages. If the baseline is underestimated, the project may run out of funds prematurely, requiring emergency approvals or cuts in scope. If the baseline overestimated, it may lead to unnecessary capital being tied up, reducing organizational efficiency. 2. Unreliable performance measurement. A flawed baseline makes earned value management meaningless as CPI, the Cost Performance Index, and the SPI, the Schedule Performance Index, will be based on incorrect data. This leads to misleading variance reports, masking real cost schedule issues until it's too late. 3. Poor cost control and unmanaged risks. Without a realistic baseline, early warning signs of cost overruns may be missed. Contingency reserves may be misallocated, leaving the project vulnerable to unforeseen risks. 4. Stakeholder distrust and conflicts. Frequent budget revisions due to poor baseline analysis erode stakeholder confidence. Disputes may arise between project teams, sponsors, and clients over financial accountability. 5. Schedule and scope disruptions. Cost overruns may force reduced scope or schedule delays to stay within revised budgets. Poor baseline alignment with schedule, such as time phasing errors, can cause cash flow problems, delaying critical activities. 6. Change control challenges. If the baseline is not well defined, assessing the impact of change requests becomes subjective, leading to uncontrolled scope creep. 7. Long-term organizational impact. Repeated budget failures due to poor baselines can harm the organization's financial credibility, making future project approvals harder. In conclusion, a poorly constructed cost baseline compromises financial control, performance tracking, and stakeholder trust, ultimately jeopardizing project success. To avoid this, you should take the following steps. First, use historical data and realistic estimates, avoiding optimism bias. Second, ensure proper time phasing, aligning costs with the schedule. Third, validate assumptions with expert judgment and risk analysis. Fourth, secure stakeholder buy-in before finalizing the baseline. As a final message, the cost baseline is essential because it transforms estimated costs into a controlled, measurable, and governable framework for project execution. Without it, cost management would lack structure, leading to potential financial risks and project failures. How important is the project funding requirements output in the determined budget process? The project funding requirements output is a critical component of the determined budget process in project management. Here's why the project funding requirements output important. 1. Establishes financial commitments. The project funding requirements document outlines the total budget needed and specifies when funds are required, such as periodic funding needs, such as quarterly or phase-based allocations. It ensures that stakeholders understand the cash flow requirements and can secure financing accordingly. 2. Links cost baseline to funding schedule. While the cost baseline represents the time-phased budget or planned expenditures, the project funding requirements define how and when funds will be released. This helps prevent funding gaps and ensures liquidity for project execution. 3. Supports management and stakeholder decisions. Senior management and finance teams use this output to approve and allocate funds. It provides transparency, helping stakeholders assess whether the project remains financially viable. 4. Enables performance measurement. By comparing actual funding disbursements against the project funding requirements, project managers can track financial performance and identify variances early. 5. Reduces financial risks. Clear funding requirements minimize the risk of budget shortfalls, ensuring that the project does not stall due to lack of funds. How can a poor project funding requirements analysis harm the determined budget process? A poor project funding requirements analysis can significantly harm the determined budget process and overall project success in several ways, as follows. 1. Cash flow shortages and project delays. If funding requirements are underestimated or misaligned with the project timeline, the project may run out of money mid-execution. For example, a construction project might stall if quarterly funding isn't secured for materials and labor, leading to penalties and delays. 2. Inaccurate budget approval. Stakeholders may approve a budget based on flawed funding assumptions, leading to underfunding or unnecessary overallocation. For example, if phased funding isn't properly structured, the project might exhaust its budget early, forcing emergency fund requests. 3. Poor cost control and overspending. Without clear funding milestones, teams may spend too quickly in early phases, leaving insufficient reserves for later stages. For example, a software project might burn through its budget on development but lack funds for testing and deployment. 4. Increased financial risk and contingency misuse. Poor analysis may lead to excessive reliance on management reserves, reducing financial flexibility for true emergencies. For example, if initial funding projections are too optimistic, the project may dip into contingency funds for basic operations. 5. Stakeholder distrust and withheld funding. If funding requirements are unreliable, sponsors may lose confidence, delaying approvals or imposing restrictive financial controls. For example, a government project with inconsistent cash flow requests might face audits or funding freezes. 6. Inefficient resource allocation. Misaligned funding schedules can cause resource bottlenecks, such as contractors sitting idle while waiting for funds. For example, a manufacturing project might have to halt production if raw material payments are delayed due to poor funding planning. 7. Compliance and contractual issues. Some contracts require strict adherence to funding schedules, such as grants and public projects. Poor analysis can lead to breaches or penalties. For example, a grant-funded research project could lose its funding if disbursement milestones aren't met. As a final message, a weak project funding requirements analysis undermines budget reliability, leading to financial instability, wasted resources, and potential project failure. Accurate forecasting is key to keeping the project financially viable. How important is the project documents updates output in the determine budget process? In the determine budget process, the project documents updates output is important but generally considered a secondary or supporting output rather than a primary deliverable. Here's why the project documents updates output is important. 1. Accuracy and traceability. Updates to project documents, such as cost estimates, basis of estimates, risk register, and assumptions log, ensure that budget decisions are well documented and traceable. The project documents updates output helps maintain alignment between the budget and evolving project conditions. 2. Support for future processes. Updated documents feed into subsequent processes like control costs, where historical data and justifications are critical for variance analysis. 3. Stakeholder communication and transparency. The project documents updates output ensures all stakeholders have access to the latest budget-related assumptions, constraints, and changes. 4. Risk and change management. If new risks or changes are identified during budgeting, updates to the risk register or change log help manage their impact. How can a poor project documents updates analysis harm the determine budget process? A poor project documents updates analysis in the determine budget process can lead to significant issues, including inaccurate budgeting, misalignment with project objectives, and financial risks. Here's how it can harm the process. 1. Inaccurate budget estimates. If supporting documents, such as basis of estimates, assumptions log, and risk register, are not updated properly, it can result in the following issues. First, cost estimates may rely on outdated data, leading to underfunding or overfunding. Second, unaccounted risks or changes may distort budget allocations. 2. Lack of justification for budget decisions. Poor documentation can result in the following problems. First, stakeholders may challenge budget decisions without clear rationale. Second, auditors or sponsors may reject funding requests due to insufficient backup. 3. Misalignment with project scope and schedule. If scope changes, resource calendars or activity cost estimates are not updated, this can result in the following problems. First, the budget may not reflect current project needs, causing shortfalls or idle funds. Second, schedule delays may occur if funding isn't aligned with revised timelines. 4. Increased financial risks. An outdated risk register or lessons learned from past projects can lead to the following problems. First, unanticipated cost overruns, such as missing contingency reserves for high probability risks. Second, Repeated mistakes from previous projects due to poor historical data. 5. Poor stakeholder confidence and disputes. Inconsistent or incomplete documentation can result in the following problems. First, erode trust in the project manager's financial oversight. Second, lead to disputes over change orders, claims, or contract adjustments. 6. Challenges in cost control and monitoring. Without proper updates, this can result in the following problems. First, earned value management becomes unreliable. Second, variance analysis is flawed because baseline comparisons are based on obsolete data. In conclusion, while not the most critical output, project documents updates play a supporting yet essential role in ensuring consistency, transparency, and auditability in budget-related decisions. They help maintain an accurate and up-to-date record of the project's financial planning. On the other hand, poor project documents updates analysis undermines the accuracy, credibility, and control of the budget, leading to financial inefficiencies, stakeholder mistrust, and project failures. As a final message, adequate documentation is essential for a defensible and realistic budget. This video is finished, but we will have in the next videos. 1. Creation of WBS for different projects using WBS Schedule Pro. 2. Examples of project plans using MS Project. And many more videos. Don't forget to give a thumbs up if you like this video and want us to continue with new topics. Subscribe to the channel. All content is free. You can also comment suggesting topics you would like to see on this channel. Thank you.